Okay guys, hope everybody is doing well. Today's video is going to be a shorter video. We're just going to go over chapter 17 take-home test at the end. I'm going to give you a few examples, give you a couple answers, and give you the page number where you can find some of the rest of the answers. On Thursday, I'm going to have another video posted where we're going to give you a few more answers, but I'm not going to give you everything on this test. You're going to have to find some of it on your own. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message, an email, or comment on the video, and I'll help you out the best you can. Thursday's video will also do a little bit of current events too. Okay, stay healthy. Okay, let's take a look at chapter 17, test A. Should be the last worksheet that you guys had in your packet. I'm going to help you out with this one today by giving you the page number where you can find some of the answers. I'm also going to give you a couple of answers, and we'll probably spend 2 days or 2 videos working on this. So let's look at the multiple choice section. Question number 2. Congress blanked President Johnson but did not force him from office. So they tried to remove him from office. You could find the answer to that on page 339. So what's the word for removing the president? That was in the news recently too, so you guys might know that one. Let's take a look at number 1. President Johnson's Reconstruction plans did not become law because of his conflicts with blank. So who could the president not get to work with him? Every time they would pass a law, he would veto it. They would override his veto. The answer to that is Congress. Okay. Number 3 is kind of a bad question, and there's an answer the book wants you to have, and there's another answer that's still technically correct. So blank often paid rent with cash from the crops they sold. So these are the words for the freedmen. They used to be slaves, and now they are free, and they're being taken advantage of by the plantation owners. And the 2 acceptable answers are going to be C and D, tenant farmers and sharecroppers. Let's take a look at number 4. The blank changed the Constitution, giving African American men the right to vote. So you could find that on page 346. And if you guys have had government class before, you're looking for something that is a change to the Constitution. There's a specific word that means to change the Constitution. Let's look at number 5. President Grant appointed his friends to the government, and they blank. So remember, Grant was a good guy a lot of people liked, but his friends were not trustworthy. So on page 347, you could find what kind of problems his friends caused. So let's look down on the bottom on the matching section. Let's look at A. And these ones are easier if you look over on the right side first and try to match them this way. A secret society that used violence to scare its victims. And most of the time, its victims were going to be African Americans, but they also used violence against people from the North. This is going to be the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. Let's take a look at E. Rebuilding of the South after the Civil War. So Abe Lincoln had a plan to repair the damage to the South, and that was called Reconstruction. And I'll help you out with one more. Let's take a look at C. The candidate that became president without winning the popular vote. So what that means, this is the guy who, when the election happened, neither candidate had enough points from each state. Neither one had enough electors to actually win. So he had to convince Congress to vote for him, to choose him. And he did that by promising to remove the soldiers from the South and basically get out of the South's business. And that is going to be Rutherford Hayes. Let's take a look at the next page. Okay. So, question number 13. The goal of blank was to rebuild the Union quickly. You can find the answer to that on page 333. Question 17. The blank put 10 southern states under military control. You could find that one on page 338. Let's take a look at number 19. Some new blank, such as steel, developed in the South. So they could no longer use slaves on plantations to make money in the South. They needed to find new ways to make money. And one of these words means factories and businesses. That is going to be industries. And we'll do one more. Number 15. The blank wanted to punish the former Confederate states. So these are a group of people who were on the same team as Abe Lincoln, but they did not want the country to be put back together quickly. They thought someone should have to pay for starting the Civil War and all the damage that happened. Those people were called the Radical Republicans. Okay. So let's take a look at the bottom. Number 23. What happened during the Second Great Indian Removal? So this is very similar to what happened with Andrew Jackson during the Trail of Tears. Who lost their homes? Who had to give up their property? How were they treated? You can find the answer to that on page 337. Number 25. What problem did the Compromise of 1877 solve? That is on page 348. It has to do with an election, and it also has to do with Reconstruction and the taxes paying for the South to be rebuilt, and the South changing or trying to change. Okay, and I'll help you out with one more. What was the purpose of black codes? Question number 22. Black codes were laws that only applied to African Americans. They were unfair laws, and the main thing they were trying to do was to prevent African Americans from voting. So to prevent freedmen from voting. Now, there's lots of other things it did. It made it so they couldn't own property. It made it so they couldn't have good paying jobs. And it discriminated against them in lots of ways. But the main purpose was to prevent them from voting. Okay, so the last page. These are a couple of short answers. It says to write in complete sentences. You don't need to do complete sentences, but you do need to give me complete thoughts. So, question number 26. How did the Reconstruction plans of radical Republicans differ from Andrew Johnson's plans? You could find that on page 335. And it's asking you, what did Andrew Johnson want to do, and what did the radical Republicans want to do? Because they were not the same thing. On the bottom, if you were a freedman during Reconstruction, what services of the Freedmen's Bureau would be most important to you? That one is on the bottom of page 336 and goes on to 337. And the Freedmen's Bureau is a group that was created to help African Americans after the Civil War was over. You have to find out what things they did and give me your opinion. What would be the most important to you after the war? Let's take a look at number 27. Describe how people in southern states limited the freedom's the freedmen's right to vote. We just talked about that on the last page. What kind of unfair laws did they pass? There's multiple correct answers, but how were they discriminating against people still? So take a look back in the chapter. If you have any questions, comment on the video, and I'll do the best I can to help you out.